Social Security is the backbone of retirement for millions of Americans, but there could be big changes coming pretty soon. This episode, we're going to explore a recent report that came out about changing the full retirement age. What does that mean for you? Does it impact planning? And should you be worried about the future of your benefits? That's all coming up.
This is Candid Conversations, retirement talk with Ryan Kravitz of Kravitz Financial and Insurance Solutions.
Welcome in. This is Candid Conversations, Retirement Talk with Ryan Kravitz. I'm Ben George. Of course, he is Ryan Kravitz at Kravitz Financial in Orange, California. Ryan, Social Security, huge topic. We've covered it here on this channel multiple times. I know we've talked about it a lot on the podcast. We know changes could be coming. This report that came out is kind of interesting that we're going to explore today.
Yeah, it's nice to dive into this. I mean, there's all different proposals out there and things, but it's kind of nice to go through this and see what they're thinking about as far as what changes they may make in order to shore up the system long term.
Well, we're going to talk about this report that came out, some of the takeaways that Ryan has from this, what it could mean for planning, what it means for you moving forward, and does it ultimately solve the problem of Social Security running out of money? We'll tackle that as well. If you have any questions, go to kravitzfinancial.com. You'll also get all the contact info in the show notes below. So, Ryan, give us a little background before we even get started on both the full retirement age, kind of where it is, and then what this report is looking to find.
Yeah, so this is interesting because, to get right to it, what they're looking at doing is perhaps raising the full retirement age from age 67 to age 69. So a little background here. So, first off, I'm not surprised at all that they're looking at raising the full retirement age here. The way that it works right now is, for those folks that were born in 1943 to 54, your full retirement age is 66. And then if you were born between 1955 to 59, it was 66 in some months. It's 2 months for each year beyond 1954. And then if you're born in 1960 or later, it's age 67. And so this is something I've been thinking about for a while is, at some point, they're going to have to make some sort of modification, I believe, so that if you were born in a year later than 1970, that then they would raise that full or 1960, that then they would raise that full retirement age past age 67. So that's what they're looking at here. So we'll kind of talk through a little bit about what they're looking at doing specifically.
Yeah, so this report came out from the Congressional Budget Office. Congressman Brendan Boyle asked them to provide some information about what this could mean. Again, this is not something that is proposed right now currently, really just doing some kind of exploring on what it could mean potentially. We'll actually put this detailed summary in the show description if you want to look through it yourself and see some of the things they reported. But Ryan, I'm curious what your key takeaways are from this report.
Yeah, so I mean, the key takeaways that I'm getting here is kind of like a lot of what I've been thinking for a number of years now. I think back about 10 years ago, and I remember, talking about this with Social Security, that Social Security is underfunded, that in the long term, something's going to need to happen in order to help shore up the system long term. For so long, a date somewhere in the 2030s was when the Social Security Trust Fund was projected to run out. And that's still currently the case. Now it's in 2034, the combined Social Security retirement and the Social Security disability trust funds are expected to run out of money. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't get benefits. You still will, because Social Security is primarily funded by payroll taxes. So there's always people paying into the system. But it's projected that you would get about a 25% decrease in benefits from one year to the next. And so that's why, they needed, and when I say they, I mean our friends in Congress on both sides of the aisle needed to come together to figure out something in order to help shore up the system long term. And the longer that they delay, keep kicking the can down the curb, because of course it's hugely unpopular to make any adjustments here. The longer this goes, the bigger those changes would need to be. Now, I mentioned, it's projected a 25% decrease in benefits. I highly, highly doubt they're going to cut benefits by 25% in 1 year. More than likely is they'll have to institute some different changes, such as raising the full retirement age like we're looking at here. And it could be other changes as well, maybe raising the payroll tax rate or whatever else. So, but this report is interesting because it's 2024 when we're recording this. So we're only like 10 years away now from this date where they're projected these benefits to be reduced.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Ryan, what would the politicians campaign on if Social Security was fixed, right? They would have one less thing to platform for their platform every election cycle as we're going through right now. But I thought it was interesting in terms of the benefits, because I think a lot of people wonder, okay, what would it mean actually to me specifically if this happened? And while we don't have a clear cut answer on what that be, the report did find that the benefits would drop a little bit. You'd see a 40% reduction in benefits compared to 30% now. So it's a pretty significant little bump up in terms of if you did claim early, you'd be getting significantly less money versus waiting if this change did happen.
Well, yeah. So specifically what they're looking at here is if you're born in 1965 or later, remember it's 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. So what they're looking at is if you're born in 1965 or later, it would then be 67 and 3 months. All right. And then if you're born in 1966, it would be 67 and 6 months. So it gets raised by 3 months every year thereafter until 1972, it shows. And then in 1972, that's when your full retirement age would be age 69. Now, again, this is just a proposal. But to your point, if this were put in place and the full retirement age was 69, then that means that if you were to take Social Security early, which you can take your own benefit at 62, you'd get a 40% reduction in benefits. Now, currently, if your full retirement age benefit is 67, you're looking at a 30% reduction in benefits. So that's really what that part is all about. Now, big picture here, the way that I feel about this is, again, I'm not at all surprised that they're looking at doing this because, and again, they haven't passed this. This is a proposal, but I'm not surprised they're looking to do it because they've already done it. They've already raised the full retirement age in the past, as I described earlier, depending upon the year you were born. And so, and the other thing is people are continuing to live longer here. So again, not surprised that this is going to happen. And I believe the number here is that if you're born in 1972 or later, what we're looking at is over the course of your lifetime versus today, that would be about a 13% reduction in benefits. So again, it's a proposal, but that's how that looks. Now, one thing I should mention too that's interesting about this is that right now, if you're 67, that's your full retirement age. If you want to delay taking your benefits past 67, you can delay it up till age 70, and you would get an 8% increase per year. I just, in simple terms, I call them 8% roll-ups. Technical term or 8% delayed retirement credits. And so what you're looking at is, if you waited till 70, a 24% increase in benefits. Now, if your full retirement age was 69 and you waited till 70, you're only looking at an 8% increase. Mm-hmm. So what they are looking at doing is allowing people to delay until 72 to get that 24% increase. And I know, right now we look at this and we're like, man, I don't want to keep, delaying my benefit that long. How long am I even going to live? But we also have to think they're looking at focusing this on people that are 1965 and or born in 1965 and over. And so then the question is, okay, how long are those people going to live? And so, it's just all part of, trying to figure out what to do in order to shore up the system there long term.
Yes, an interesting report. Again, you can kind of sift through it yourself if you'd like to. We'll put it in the show descriptions. But I'm curious, Ryan, when you think about this potential change, how should someone at different ages view this, right? Like I think about someone that's in their 50s versus someone in their 60s who's maybe about to retire or really approaching that retirement date versus like some really younger generations and maybe have just started paying into things and really concerned about the future of Social Security. How would you tell someone in those different age ranges to view this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, first off, I highly believe Social Security will always be there. We all we all want it to be there. We all vote for it. We all pay into it over time. That said, it is a math, problem in order to figure out how to shore it up long term. So, big picture, if you're already receiving Social Security benefits, if you're in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, certainly none of these proposals here would impact you. I do believe that they could make some adjustments here in the future, but I don't think it would be that big, because I'll give you an example. Like, there's a lot of different proposals that they're looking at. One of them is maybe to increase payroll taxes or to increase the payroll tax limit. So in other words, if you make over a certain amount, right now you don't pay any payroll taxes, Social Security taxes on that. They may raise that in the future. So that's one thing that they could do is change that with the payroll taxes. Well, if you're retired, if you're not working at all, that doesn't affect you. Now, that said, things that could affect you are like the taxation on Social Security, the formula that they use, or the grid, or the brackets that they use, I should say, to determine the provisional income and whether your Social Security benefits are subject to tax. That hasn't changed since the 1990s. And yet people are continuing to make more and more money. So it could naturally happen without them making any changes, that you could pay more in taxes on your Social Security than you are now. They also could tweak the way that COLAs work, the cost of living adjustments work. So there are some things they could do. But bottom line is, I think the younger you are, the more changes that you're going to see, the more impacts that you're going to see on this over time, whether it's delaying the full or raising the full retirement age, more in taxes, or changing the way that COLAs work in the future for you, or whatever it is. But ultimately, it's speculation at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's still speculation. A number of different changes you've highlighted that could take place in the future. I think the biggest thing is, for those that are concerned, Ryan, that, okay, maybe my benefits aren't going to be what they are right now, which seems like it could be likely at this point. There's going to be some changes in some regard. What strategies can you consider? What would you tell someone to be thinking about from a planning perspective in order to continue to maximize those Social Security benefits, even if there is a reduction there at some point?
Well, certainly, a number of things. I guess I would start with making sure that you're doing plenty of saving and investing outside of Social Security, making sure that you're doing everything that you can there. But then when it comes to your Social Security benefits, is making sure you're really figuring out when is the best time for you and or your spouse. So you're coordinating benefits together. Perhaps you take your benefit at one time and your spouse takes their benefit at another time. Figuring out if you're entitled to a divorce spouse benefit or a survivor benefit, even a divorce survivor benefit. Oftentimes I run into widows and such that don't realize that they're entitled to a benefit. And so, making sure that you understand how the system works and how to get the most in benefits that you're entitled to.
Well, if you haven't talked over some of these conversations with a financial professional like Ryan, please take the time to do so. You can always reach out to Ryan, kravitzfinancial.com. That number as well, 714-462-9155. Everything's in the show description. Check that out there as well. Ryan, any kind of final thoughts on Social Security? I got a couple questions I want to ask you from listeners, but want to put a bow on this before we close it out.
I don't think so. I think we've covered all the fine points about this. Again, the bottom line here is that this is just a proposal, but I would expect there to be more proposals and perhaps some changes that we're going to see over the coming years. Because again, in 10 years from now, 2034, that's when it's projected that Social Security benefits would be cut by 25% if there's no other changes made between now and then.
It'll be interesting to watch over the next decade. And again, Ryan will be able to update you as things do change, what that means for you. All right. I want to get into a couple of questions that were sent in, Ryan, that I think are really interesting that were asked of you. And I want to get your thoughts on these and maybe kind of work these out here on the show. So this is the first one for you. I worry a lot about a market crash next year. A lot of people are, with the election happening right now. But people tell me not to worry about it because I'm only 51 and don't plan to retire for another 15 years. Is it really that simple and I shouldn't pay attention to it?
So you're 51 years old. So if we go based on history, there's been a bear market about every 4 to 5 years. All right. So you'll probably, at least based upon history, you'll probably experience more than one bear market over that period of time. But the key thing here is that there's a lot of different risks when it comes to managing our money. I mean, one of them is certainly market risk, as we're referring to here. The risk of that market crash. Now, when we think about that, and you're 51 years old, if you're looking to retire in 15 years here, like you're saying, the question really is, in no matter if you're 51 or 61 or 71 or 81, is when are you going to need the money that you're talking about here. I'll give you an example. I mean, if you're 51 and you're working, you're getting plenty of money, hopefully, from your job. And so you're not needing the money that you're investing, hopefully. Now, if you are, that's certainly a different discussion. Now, if you're 71 and you're retired and you're needing money now today to live on, now it could be a very different situation. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not taking market risk, perhaps, because you could very well live until you're 81, 91, right? You need that money to still grow and keep up with inflation. But I mentioned earlier, there's all different types of risks, and market risk is just one of them. And so if you're 51 years old, and if you're thinking, I need to pull back, I need to really get more conservative, then we have to worry about things like inflation risk. Are we allowing our money to keep up with inflation over time? The big thing I would say here is, be careful what you read and see on the news, the TV, other media outlets. So much of that is just designed to try to sell advertising and get people to watch, and so many things try to scare people. It's always, there's a market crash coming. Well, I'm here to say that there is. As I said, historically, about every 4, 5, 6 years, there is a bear market. But it's just about knowing when are we going to need access to this money and creating that spending plan, whether it's bucketing strategy or whatever it is, in order to make sure that we are managing our money as efficiently as we can.
Yeah, best thing to do is sit down and have a plan in place for when you're going to need that money, how you're going to take it, and then how you can adjust your risk if you need to, so that you can handle the market and manage those ups and downs, as we know are inevitable with the stock market. All right, one more question for you, Ryan. My dad died last month, and I'm his only beneficiary. Sorry for your loss. He doesn't have any assets that I'll inherit other than his house and $100,000 in a checking account. How much should I set aside to pay the taxes on this?
Well, so, there's different taxes. If we're just talking about income taxes here, it doesn't sound like there would be any income taxes, because the checking account money you would receive, and then you're looking at getting a step up in basis on the house. So you wouldn't have to pay any taxes there. But this is a good question, because, certain assets, you would have to pay taxes. Like if you were inheriting an IRA, for instance, that money would be subject to tax, and you would have to pay taxes there. Now, there's ways you could take that out, perhaps over 10 years, for instance, but still that money would be subject to tax. Now, if we were talking about estate taxes, that would be different. I don't think that this falls in the estate tax realm, just based upon the two assets that we're talking about here. But that's where, if you're worth over 13.61 million this year in 2024, or you're even having to worry about estate tax. And then if you're married, then you have two exclusions there, and so then you have all that. But hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that's help. And it's a good question to be asking. It definitely tells me that person's thinking ahead, Ryan, too. And you probably should have a conversation about what you plan to do with that money as well, right? I mean, an opportunity there, $100,000 might not be life-changing, but it really can propel you forward towards retirement, can it?
Absolutely. Yeah, you need to factor it into your plan. How are you going to utilize that? That's a lot of money for most people to have just sitting in checking or savings. And so what do you need to do with that? Do you need to pay off debt? Do you need to invest that? What's the wise thing for you to do?
All right, very good. Well, I appreciate those questions. If you have them for us, please drop a comment down below this video. If you're not watching us on YouTube, come on over, check us out there, and subscribe while you're there as well. Had a number of new subscribers since our last video, which we appreciate, and thank you for your support. Ryan, as always, we appreciate your time, and I know there's a lot to look forward to with Social Security in terms of changes and adjustments that'll be made, and I know you'll be on top of it when that happens, and we appreciate your insight into this proposal.
Absolutely. Good to see you, Ben.
Yeah, good to see you as well. And good to see you. Thanks for watching. We'll have another video coming soon, so stay tuned.
Thanks for checking out today's episode. Please remember to like the video on YouTube and subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you're within 5 years of your desired retirement date, let's make sure you're on the right track with a free 20-minute consultation. Ryan can help answer your pressing questions, such as, when can I retire? What are my options for healthcare in retirement? Should I adjust my investment strategy as I get older? And when should I collect Social Security? This consultation is the perfect starting point to craft a sound retirement plan. Schedule your call now by clicking the link in the description or visiting kravitzfinancial.com.